Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but there are two things I cannot stand about wintertime. Item number one is getting sick, which I've been sick for the past week and a half. It's awful. Getting sick is pretty much unavoidable unless you want to barricade yourself in the house and not go out and enjoy life. Not me, but to each his own. Anyway, item number two I cannot stand about winter is having cold, wet feet. Now, if you're a blue-collar tradesman like I am, you'll know that having cold, wet feet in the wintertime is the worst feeling imaginable. It just sucks the life out of you. And I feel like most of my adult life, I've been searching for the perfect winter sock. I probably tried 50 different pairs of socks over the past 10 years, and I think I've finally found the perfect winter sock. In today's video, I'd like to share with you what that sock is. I am also going to share two other pairs of socks. One is my favorite summer pair of socks. We're going to talk about the different materials that each of those pairs of socks are made up of, some of their pros and cons to that specific type of material, and then we'll go over each individual sock, where it's made, material, cost, things of that nature. Should make for an interesting video if you care about your feet, which you should, so let's get into it. So on the table, we have my three favorite pairs of socks, and it has taken me many, many years to pick out these socks, but these are my favorite pairs of socks. By the way, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. Nobody sent me out anything for free. All purchased with my own money. Completely unbiased video here. So let's go over each pair of socks and what they are mainly made out of. So first, we'll start with my favorite pair of summer socks. These are the Working Person Store 8766 socks, and these are a mainly cotton sock, 75% cotton. Then let's move on to my favorite all-around winter sock. This is the Darn Tough 1405 Merino wool sock. This is made with 66% merino wool. And then finally, we have the Cabela 61 series wool boot sock, and this is made with 69% wool. Before we dive into each pair of socks, I want to talk about the different materials that each pair of these socks is manufactured out of and some of the pros and cons of that material. So let's start with cotton socks. For the cotton, some of the pros, it's lightweight, soft, and great for the summer and warmer weather. Some of the cons, the cotton tends to absorb moisture, it's inefficient at wicking and drying, and it also does not hold any thermal value once it gets wet. There's an old saying, in fact, cotton kills in the wintertime, and I hold that to be very true. So I would absolutely avoid cotton socks in colder weather. Now, let's move on to these Darn Tough merino wool socks. So merino wool is a little bit different than some of the more conventional wool because the merino wool fibers are much thinner, and that gives us some benefits. So some of the pros, because the fibers are thinner, these socks are softer than conventional wool socks, thus they may not be as itchy if you find some wool to be itchy. And these are also better at moisture wicking than conventional wool. These socks are also advertised as thermoregulating. And let's move on to the con list. So the big con with merino wool is it's very expensive. And another small con, I've been wearing these socks right here for 6 months, tends to attract a little bit of lint in the wash. Not a big deal for me, but that's the only thing I can really think of for the con list. Now let's move on to the standard wool. So these are the Cabella socks, and again, for standard wool, some of the pros, there are moisture wicking properties because all wool is definitely somewhat moisture wicking, and the conventional wool is much cheaper. Well, it's cheaper than merino wool, definitely cheaper, but it's still going to be somewhat expensive. So some of the cons, it can be itchy, the conventional wool, and also it's definitely more expensive than a cotton or a synthetic material sock. I would avoid synthetic material socks, never had a good experience with them. So those are some of the pros and cons about each of the materials that these socks are made up of. Now, I've spent the entire morning putting together this list, so let's start diving into each individual pair of socks. Let's go over just everything that I've compiled about them. So first we'll start with the Working Person's 8766 socks. So these come in a 2-pack, and a 2-pack goes for $14, so a pair of these socks is $7 a pair. They're comprised of 75% cotton, 23% nylon, 2% spandex. These socks are manufactured in the USA. Now, the height of the socks are about 10 inch, so I would describe these as a boot sock. They also come with a 1-year comfort guarantee. Some of the features of these socks, they have a ribbed top, and that helps to prevent the sock from sliding off sliding down your calf. and they do a great job of staying up, in my opinion. Also, they have an embedded arch support, which I guess would be in here. And they are also cushioned at the toe and the heel. So if you wear steel toe boots in the summertime, I would highly recommend these socks. They are thick and they seem to hold up well for about a year. Now they do lose some of their softness over time, and where I found the failure point on these socks to be is where your heel rubs up against the boot, like right there. Bring the camera in. That's what it looks like after about 6 months, but if you get a lot of friction back here, that is definitely the failure point. So working person store, if you guys are listening, try and improve that area. I think a lot of your customers would really appreciate it, but these are definitely the thickest summer cotton socks that I have found, and I just think these are overall a fantastic boot sock for the summertime. Now, let's move on to the Darn Tough 1405 Merino wool full cushion boot socks. And these, I cannot tell you how highly I recommend these socks. These are the best all-around winter boot sock. I would say as long as temperatures are above 0 degrees Fahrenheit and you're wearing a decent pair of boots. When we start going below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, then I'd more push the Cabella's wool boot socks. But they cost $28 a pair, and that's the kicker. These things are freaking expensive. However, they are manufactured in the USA up here in Vermont. They are made of 66% merino wool, 32% nylon, and 2% spandex. And I would also describe these as a boot sock, as they are 10-inch from the ground up your calf. 10-inch boot socks. Now here's the wonderful thing about these socks, aside from a lot of other things. These socks are guaranteed for life, which is pretty much unheard of. And I've looked at the manufacturer's website, and I believe what they say, as long as your socks have failed from normal wear and tear, of course they're not going to cover if you cut your socks apart with a knife or a pair of scissors, or if your dog tears apart your socks, obviously that isn't covered. But through normal wear and tear, if you find that your socks fail, you have to pay the shipping to them. I don't believe you need a receipt or anything like that. They need to see what kind of damage was done to your socks, and I believe that helps them to improve their manufacturing. But as long as they deem it to be a normal wear and tear failure, they will send you out a new pair of socks for free. And that, to me, is just fantastic. I don't know what more to say about that. Where else are you going to find a sock that's guaranteed for life? Of course, you're going to pay for it up front, but buy once, cry once, right? So let's talk about some of the features. So features, number one, these socks have leg cushioning. I guess that's why they're described as full cushioning. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I like my socks to be as cushiony as possible because it's just easier on the feet, easier on the body. So if I feel this sock from the top where it would slip over your calf, as I go down right about here, I can start to feel the cushioning. So this section right here, this 3 or 4 inch section right here, I can feel additional padding. And let me tell you, that is really nice. So you have some really nice padding right there. Again, features, these are obviously moisture wicking, and in my opinion, these are much superior over conventional wool because, again, this is the thinner fibered Merino wool. Merino wool. Also, these socks are thermoregulating, antimicrobial, and they are advertised as all-day comfort, which I can 100% attest to. So these are just fantastic socks. Highly, highly, highly recommend these socks. Now, let's move on to the Cabela 61 Series wool boot sock. Now, I don't have a new pair of these socks because I've had these pairs, well, this pair and a couple other pairs up in my drawer for quite some time. I want to say 6, 7 years, maybe even longer. You can see that some of the wording on the bottom here is faded out over the years, and let me tell you, these socks are pretty darn terrific. So these come in right now at $20 a pair. That's what they cost. They are manufactured in the United States of America, so these still are not cheap, but they're a little bit cheaper than the Darn Tough socks. They are manufactured in America. So these socks are 69% wool, 19% nylon, 11% acrylic, and 1% spandex. Height, these are a little bit taller. These are 14-inch socks, which after a few years, I measured this is more like 12 inches now, so they probably shrunk down a little bit. And they also advertise these at 5.5 ounces. This is the only manufacturer where I could find that ounce rating. Some of the features: extra heavyweight stretch construction, which I would hold that to be 100% true. These are the heavyweight socks. When things get really cold, these are the socks I generally put on. When I talk about really cold, I'm talking about temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And then other features: spandex supported ribbed tops. And these do stay up on the ankle pretty well. Now here's my only complaint about these wool socks, these Cabela 61 series socks. They are not the best at wicking moisture away from your feet. In my opinion, the Darn Tough socks definitely do a better job. However, these socks are better suited for those really cold days. Now, I was looking at Cabela's website, and they do actually recommend for these specific pair of socks to wear another pair of moisture wicking socks underneath these socks. And to me, that makes sense. On those really cold days, I think that's what you need to do. So check out Cabela's website and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I think these are overall a fantastic pair of socks in the right conditions. I often actually just wear these around the house as kind of like a slipper socks. They're fantastic for that as well. Also, if I run down this sock right here, when I get to the point where the black thread kind of ends, the black stitching definitely gets a little bit thicker in this part of the sock, and then just the rest of the sock is like a uniform, really thick and gushy thickness. Like you can see me squishing on that. Look at the back right here. I'd say there's a little bit of wear. Again, this is really the main failure point for any sock of mine. And I'd say it's holding up exceptionally well for being 7 or 8 years old. Now, another small complaint that I have about these socks: I could not find what the warranty is on these socks, and that kind of annoys me. I'd like to know, are these only warranted for like a month? Is there no warranty? Like, what's the deal? There was nothing on their website, and I didn't feel like emailing one of their customer service representatives. So if you guys know what the warranty is on these socks, please let me know. So I'm going to close out this video by saying this: if you were to ask me 8 years ago, would I ever spend $28 on a single pair of socks, I would have told you absolutely not. You're out of your mind. I'm going to get whatever cheap socks Walmart has. But man, my opinion has drastically changed over the years. Taking care of your body and your health and maintaining warm and dry feet is just so critical. So investing in a pair of lifetime guaranteed socks, I think, is a no-brainer. In fact, wintertime, quite oftentimes friends and family will gift me pairs of socks in the wintertime that they get from the big box stores. But let me tell you, all those socks for the most part are crap. I hate to say it, but whenever they bring me these socks, I tell them, thank you, but I'll never wear them. These are the only pairs of socks I'll wear. They had to send them back. But before I close out this video, I'd like to know what your favorite pair of socks are and why. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.